My name's Sarah. It's really great having you speak to us today. My question for you was, because the pandemic has caused oil prices and the demand for oil to drop, causing a loss in profits for RDS in 2020, how would you say the pandemic has affected the transition to renewable fuel sources?
Yeah, sure. In the height of the pandemic, demand really dropped. And we took out roughly 7% of demand at the height of the pandemic. And you could say, well, okay, sure, so that it can be done. But then think of it in a slightly different way. What did it take us to just drop 7% in energy demand? What was required? A total economic disruption of the entire world, a lot of suffering. And as soon as we had the opportunity to sort of normalize things back again, it all came back. So I don't think it is a dress rehearsal in that sense. What it actually shows, but a lot of people don't like to see it that way, what it shows is just how unbelievably difficult it is to do this. Because if you thought that we were just going to go on this trajectory from here on, then we would have to have not just this pandemic, which only took care of 7%, but another pandemic on top of it for the next 7%, et cetera, et cetera. So soon enough, you see that we need to have a total destruction of society in order to meet the climate goals. And that, of course, is not a realistic way of going about it. So in that sense, the pandemic, from a techno-economic perspective, hasn't shown anything. What it did show, however, Sarah, is to a lot of people that we can't go on like this. There is something really not quite right with the world that these things can happen to us. And we better be a whole lot more careful and conscientious and philosophically in a different place. And therefore, I think the societal acceptance for intervention has gone up. And that's the good news about the pandemic in my mind. But as a template for how you do the energy transition, I think is a bit of a naive view.